We have a shocking Toronto Blue Jays free agency update to go over today as a brand new report from Ken Rosenthal has just dropped linking the Jays, and not only linking, but naming the Jays as finalists to acquire Pete Alonso. We're going to break down those reports as they are among only 2 other teams in pursuit to land the star. Talks are heating up there. We also have multiple other Jays free agency updates to go over today. There's a ton to go over in an offseason where the Jays have yet to make a big splash. Things are really starting to pick up and new names are dropping, and the Jays are heavily involved in a lot of guys. So stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. Before we get into a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. If you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays news. We cover everything right away. We're up to date, so make sure to smash that subscribe button. Thank you guys for your continued support as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this just dropped minutes ago as of the time of recording, and it is very surprising. We know they're heavily involved in the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes. They're heavily involved in the Santander Alex Bregman sweepstakes. We'll have an update for you there as well as they come out. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Rosenthal just dropped a bomb, and it is surrounding Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso's free agency is reaching a critical juncture. Alonso's market is heating up with 3 teams, including the Toronto Blue Jays, currently engaged in discussions for the power-hitting first baseman, league sources said. If the Jays landed Alonso, they'd still prefer to keep Vladdy, a person familiar with the club's thinking said. Guerrero played 12 games at third, and he and Alonso could serve as the club's DH. I mean, just an absolute shocking report, and there's no other way to put it here because, again, there's been some rumors, there's been some speculation that the Jays are interested in Pete Alonso and things like that. These reports come, and this is the one of, alongside, I would put Jeff Passan above Ken Rosenthal, but Ken Rosenthal is basically the second most reliable reporter there is, and he specifically names the Jays, and you have to assume the other team is the Mets and then one other mystery team here. The Jays are currently engaged in conversations for the power-hitting first baseman. And when you're talking about someone who would fix a lot of the Jays' offensive problems, Pete Alonso is that guy. And we'll dive into his stats in a little bit here, but they've been finalists for a lot of guys. The fact that they are actively involved in Pete Alonso is very surprising. Now, again, they need to actually execute. They've been heavily involved in a lot of free agents this offseason, and they've yet to make a big splash aside from the Andres Jimenez trade. But when you're thinking about, I guess the Jeff Hoffman one, if you want to consider that a big splash, but I guess a big offensive splash, I should say. When it comes to this, I mean, again, offensive splash, nothing. And I mean, again, Jeff Hoffman was a fine splash in the bullpen. This is shocking to me. And not only is it shocking, it's shocking because A, you can put to bed maybe a little bit of the Vlad Jr. trade speculation. There's still some of that, coming out. But if they're going to get Alonso, this is not to replace Vladimir Guerrero Jr. This is to make an, extremely power-heavy offense, which is not something that Ross Atkins has done the past couple of years. And they are actively engaged in conversations. And the way that this is being worded is that they're among finalists, of course, to land the I'm not going to call him a star first baseman, the elite first baseman, power hitting first baseman in Pete Alonso. And other reports have come out. The Jays are among 2 other teams, I believe, 2 or 3 other teams that are actively zeroed in on Pete Alonso. Obviously, the New York Mets are another one, and there's some more from here. Meanwhile, the New York Mets want a resolution, as the New York Post first reported. As early as Thursday morning, which is hours ago, people briefed on the situation, said a financial hurdle still existed between the 2 sides. The Mets are in active talks with other players, and it would be difficult to fit Alonso into their plans if they strike a deal in other pursuits, a person familiar with the Mets plans said. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems like the Mets are backing off, and then the Jays are coming in hot and saying, okay, if the Mets aren't going to offer you what you want, we'll give you what you want financially, and you come to Toronto and we'll figure out the rest later. It seems like the Jays, if they get this done, are sniping from the Mets Pete Alonso here. And I am all for it. Again, this came out of nowhere. We've heard speculation and rumors, but this is way more than speculation. This is a firm report from Ken Rosenthal. And usually when they drop things like that, I'm not saying a deal is going to get done with the Jays, but they are among the other teams. Now, I know. I can already, see the comments and people talking about, down in the comments, just in general, saying, hey, Jays, we've been finalists for so many guys. This could just be leverage. It is possible that it is leverage, but this part of the report makes it seem like it isn't leverage. It seems like at this point, the Mets are just fed up with Pete Alonso's asking price, and the financial hurdle is getting too hard, and that the Mets are just going to have to go and pursue other directions. They already got Juan Soto. Maybe they go for somebody a little bit cheaper, and it's a little bit wild. Now, regarding what a contract may look like, this dropped a couple days ago from Ken Rosenthal, and I wanted to give you guys this to show you some insight on what he's actually looking for. The first baseman's camp has told the Mets he is willing to accept a 3-year contract with opt-outs. Other prominent free agents are contemplating whether to follow suit. So he's willing to do a 3-year deal with opt-outs. If you're the Jays, this is a no-brainer. You obviously get a huge power hitter. You get protection for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And let's not forget, this is still perfect for signing Anthony Santander. This would fit you in perfectly. You have Santander in left. You have, Pete Alonso and Vladdy splitting time between first base and DH. You have Vladdy playing some third base. I don't know if, Ross Atkins specifically is going to actually pull the trigger on this. It does scream like a bit of a desperation move. But if you're Ross Atkins, get it done, Ross, because at this point, like, there's no other avenue that would make a lot of sense when it comes to, there's no other first baseman you're going to add here. The only one would be Pete Alonso. And if you're unfamiliar with his game, you can look at the home run counter. He had a down season last year, which actually plays into the Jays' favor here because, well, A, his down season would have been, the highest home run total on the Jays, barely surpassing Vladdy. But 2, you're getting him at a cheaper price. Now you look at, the season before, 46 home runs. The season before, 40 home runs. This last season, 34 home runs. He hits absolute bombs. And not only does he hit bombs, his power hitting is crazy. We all know that. You put him in a lineup with Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Pete Alonso, Anthony Santander. Yes, this is hopeful thinking. I understand that. But if they even just get Pete Alonso in general, everything is going to really start to fall in place for the Jays. And again, the Jays are still among teams interested in Anthony Santander. We know that. There's a few other teams as well that have entertained some outfielders. But if you want some more context in the Mets, again, the Mets and Pete Alonso, these dialogues have been going on for a while, surrounding the Mets and Pete Alonso, but they've been coming to a complete halt. The Mets and Pete Alonso continue to talk about a possible deal that could keep him in the Queens, and they've been making progress at one point. Now, there's been a substantial financial hurdle. This was a couple days ago, and this just dropped. These 2 reports just dropped minutes ago, as of the time of recording, literally minutes ago. So it seems to be a hurdle with the Mets. It seems like the Jays are saying, hey, why don't we just scoop in? We have the money for it. Give Pete Alonso what he wants. Maybe it'll cost a bit more to go from Queens to Toronto, but it's very clear that Pete Alonso is money motivated, like most free agents are, which makes a lot of sense, of course, take care of your families and all things like that. But ladies and gentlemen, things are starting to pick up. Pete Alonso's free agency is reaching a critical juncture. His market is heating up with 3 teams, including the Jays, engaged in discussions. Ken Rosenthal. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to get my hopes up too high. I think it would be a perfect fit. I think this report is dropping for a reason. And let's not forget, they're still in the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes. And like we discussed, like I discussed on the stream yesterday, it's going to be boom or bust over the next few days. If they miss out on Roki, there are still other avenues. But if they miss out on Roki, Santander falls off the board, and then Pete Alonso falls off the board, things can go from 0 to 100 really fast, but could also go from 100 to 0 really fast as well. So it's going to be crazy. It's going to be wild. Give me Pete Alonso. Send him to Toronto. Let me know down below if you think, again, positionally wise, it doesn't make a ton of sense. He is not a good fielder, but I don't know if I care at this point. Give this team some power. He's 30 years old. He has a few years left of great power. His peripherals are great when it comes to power hitting. Get it done. Have him protecting Vladdy, and it would make a ton of sense. But again, this report just dropped minutes ago, so we're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news. Make sure to smash that subscribe button. This is the place to be for Daily Jays content. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.